Yesterday, Trump was reacting to a CNN report that says some Trump workers might be called to testify about seeing documents just lying around there at Mar-a-Lago. And here's what he wrote. Of course they did. They may have seen the boxes, etc., that were openly and plainly brought from the White House, as is my right under the Presidential Records Act. But Steph, you told me on this show in July that you saw Trump show classified documents to people on that dining room patio at Mar-a-Lago. Have you been approached by investigators to talk about his pattern and the way he handled these materials?
I have definitely spoken with various people on various investigations, which I don't want to get ahead of any further than that. But, I think that what will be important about some of these Mar-a-Lago workers is, yes, they will have probably seen the boxes, but I think what they'll be able to testify to is that absolutely nothing gets done at Mar-a-Lago or Bedminster or any of his properties without his say-so, period. It could be the smallest thing. It could be the maids putting, soap in a certain place. He knew everything. He directed everything. I spent, 5 years every holiday with the First Family at Mar-a-Lago and in Bedminster as well. And so I actually got to know all of those workers too. And everyone does exactly what he says. Nobody makes a move without him. And that goes down to the maids and the plumbers, et cetera, et cetera. So I think that's going to be what maybe they're going to be able to help the prosecution with.
What about Melania's surprise appearance, Halloween, I think it was, the Mar-a-Lago party there? She hadn't been seen in public with the former president for months and months. What do you think that was about? Because the Washington Post says in September, here was their headline, missing Melania. Flyers apparently had popped up around Iowa. There was an airplane that flew over a college football game. So do you have any sense of where things stand and her level of the way she intends to support her husband in this campaign?
I mean, I don't have any personal knowledge right now, certainly, but, she's doing exactly what she's always done. And I know that my answer seems to disappoint a lot of people with that. But look, she does what she wants when she wants. She and her husband are absolutely a lot more alike than I think people want to believe. And so showing up at that Halloween party, that was nothing, anything new. She oftentimes shows up at a Mar-a-Lago holiday party, be it New Year's Eve or a Christmas party or any big events. So that's pretty normal. And, she has said that she'll support her husband in whatever he does, but I don't think you're going to see her on the campaign trail a whole ton because that's just not who she is. Things I actually respected and admired about her is that she's a very independent, strong-minded woman.
But here's something, because the Post also quoted you as saying that Melania appeared to find it, quote, cringy, the way Jill Biden always seemed to be hanging around Joe, once telling you stuff that she didn't need to, quote, hold her husband up the same way. How do you interpret that? Is Melania confusing holding her husband up with supporting him?
Yeah, I think that she believes that, he can do his own thing, that her husband is a strong man and he can do things on his own. And she does not need to be by his side at all times. And that is exactly what she said. She didn't think that she needed to be by his side for everything like Jill Biden was. She thought that almost made President Biden look weak, that he had to have his wife around. And it's just what their relationship is like. She'll be there for the big events. She'll be there for the larger scale events. But other than that, she's got her own life she lives. It's a very transactional relationship.
Okay. All right. Then before we let you go, do you have any, and I'm not trying to get ahead of things as you didn't earlier, but as you mentioned earlier, but given the fact that you have spent so much time with the family and specifically at Mar-a-Lago, do you think it's possible you might appear in Jack Smith's case there with the documents?
Oh, I don't have any insight into that right now. Like I said, I've just been participating voluntarily in many of the cases. So we'll just see where it goes. And, whatever they need from me, I will be around.